and help them, encourage them, give them sources, and support it, and having a prize that you don't even have to give the prize. You can always give them an additional prize. But here you have that. So to me, it sounds like a given that everyone should use this opportunity, and that's exactly why we're doing it, without any strings attached. It's a gift to anyone writing these essays, and we wish that everybody participates. We wish there'd be thousands and thousands and thousands of submissions. There'll be more news coming about the contest as we are developing different ideas. So stay tuned, and we will talk about them. And again, meaningfullife.com/contest. With that said, let us go to a few questions. In this My Life program, we'll talk about a little about Avos Yisrael. How can we be expected to love every person? Rabbi Jacobson, thank you for your excellent broadcasts, which are such a great help to so many people. My question is about Avos Yisrael. We all know the basic mitzvah to love a fellow as we love ourselves. It doesn't just say to love a fellow, it says kamoicha, like yourself. Meanwhile, Hashem created the world in such a way that each person likes some people more than others. And in fact, it's human nature to dislike certain people. You can't like everyone, the saying goes. Moreover, most people have a best friend or a few very close friends that they especially love. And we thank Hashem and appreciate that we have these people to be close to. Actually, the fact that there are people we don't like makes us appreciate our good friends even more. Meanwhile, we have this mitzvah of Avos Yisrael, and I'm trying to understand how to grow in it. If I dislike someone, if I'm irritated by their behavior or opinions, but I treat them decently, would do a favor for them, and never say Lashon Hara about them, I believe I'm keeping the mitzvah of Avos Yisrael. But the fact that I dislike them makes me feel bad. I'm even dan l'kav zchus, which means I look and find merit in them, on them for their behavior and opinions, trying to understand why they are the way they are. But often that doesn't make me feel any differently toward them. Moreover, there are certain people that are not a good influence on me, and it's best for me not to spend time around them. So I avoid them. The Rebbe even addresses this in at least one sikh, I think, about Pirkei Avos, harchek mishachen ra, to distance yourself from a bad neighbor. I don't do anything against them, but it doesn't feel like I have Avos Yisrael toward them. Recently, for a mitzvah, for a full shleima for someone, a person suggested tolerating someone you can't usually tolerate. Is this an improvement in Avos Yisrael? If so, how? How do I make peace with my negative feelings towards certain people? Or am I supposed to make peace with them at all? Maybe my feelings don't matter. How does a person grow in Avos Yisrael? Very good. Very good question. Very practical question. And of course has been addressed. I don't know if I addressed exactly this context, but I did address in episode 74, 103, and 127. And cross-referencing, because when you go to meaningfullife.com, you find all the archives and other resources, including the essays, as I mentioned, the contest, is all there. So we have discussed related topics. Let me address this question directly. Let's broaden the question by asking a few other questions. We know, Adam Karevetz Latzme, as you alluded to, a person loves themselves more than everything else. And that's how we're created. So how could you actually really love another like yourself? Kamoicha. As I said, it doesn't just say v'haftarecha. It says kamoicha. It's seemingly not the nature of a human being to love someone as they love themselves. And as you point out, how could you say such a mitzvah when there are people that we don't like? Let's say you meet someone that seems very negative. The Maggid asks another question. He asks the question, he says, how could you command and regulate love? You could tell somebody to give tzedakah. You could tell someone to invite guests, even if you don't like the person. But v'hafta is the mitzvah to love. How do you regulate an emotion? If you don't love, you don't love. You do love, you do love. How do you tell somebody to love someone when they don't feel the love? So he answers the question, the same question about Hashem, v'haftas Hashem Elokecha, that the mitzvah is under his bonus. The mitzvah is to contemplate on things that bring you to love. Like the Rambam says, Keitzid Yaveh, how does a person arrive to love and awe of God? By contemplating on the world, on the universe, seeing greatness of God, seeing the grandeur, seeing how God helps us, seeing how God sustains us, appreciating it. And that brings love. So of course, Chassidus has the question, then the mitzvah should have said, Lizbeinen. to contemplate. Chassidus says no. When you contemplate, automatically it brings an emotion. And that's the heart of the real Chiddush, which is another question. The Baal Shem Tov, we say, is Chaddush, the Inyan of Ahavas Yisrael, is one of the foundations of the Baal Shem Tov. What do you mean? Rabbi Akiva said, Zeh Klal Gadol B'Teirav, after Echa Kamecha, thousands of years before that. Why do we say something there? Cornerstone of Chassidus, one of the cornerstones is Ahavas Yisrael. That Alter Rebbe has a whole Perek Lamed Beis, Perek Lev, Perek Lov, Perek Heart, Lamed Beis, that talks about it. So the answer is, the mitzvah is there, but what Chassidus comes to teach is how to access it even when you don't feel it. And when you contemplate and realize that a person has a neshama, and that neshama is a chelik elokam mal mamish, a divine piece of the divine, and created b'tselem elokim. So it's true on the surface level, there may be a person that you may not like. And there may be their personality things that actually don't deserve to be liked. Whatever reason, it just may be unpleasant person. There is such a thing. But the neshama is never unpleasant. So the Alter Rebbe says, Eivas habriyas, he's medayik the word briyas. Says, have a mitamidiv shel Adon, be from the students of Adon, and love the briyas. What does briyas mean? Say, Eivas ha'adam, Eivas b'nei adam. Briyas means creatures, creations. That even if you feel briyas ba'alma, you don't see any other quality except the fact that God created that person, that's enough reason. Because it's an extension of loving God. That's how we have to look at it. So, therefore, that is how we work on Ahavas Yisrael and growing Ahavas Yisrael. Again, that doesn't mean that only they become your best friend. Obviously, you can't have the whole world as your best friend. There are people we gravitate to, people we associate with, people who understand us, or we understand them, certain common people. But Ahavas Yisrael sometimes comes easily for some people, with some people. Sometimes it comes that you have to dig deeper and say, this person is an neshama of Hashem. Why did God put them on this earth? So what you're introducing is the soul element. That's what Chassidus and the Baal Shem Tov came to introduce. And that is absolutely everyone is capable of doing. Contemplating, which will automatically bring a feeling. Now, you could say, what about criminals in prison? Or people who've really done something cruel? Even them we're supposed to love. That doesn't mean they shouldn't be in prison. If they're a danger to others and they've done something wrong, they need to be disciplined. But it still means that there's a neshama that they have. And even when the Mitzrayim were drowning, Hashem was saying to the Malachim, why are you singing praise? These are my creatures. So we cry that they had to drown because there was no choice. So even then, we're not celebrating, we feel sad that God's creatures could fall to such a low place. So it's a general attitude of looking at everything from the divine perspective, and when you do, you see the positive, you can find the positive in every person. Halemed Mekol Adam. You learn something from every person, and you see, there's the language in Yem Yem and other places brought to be things we learn from a ganef even. A thief. A thief is a person who's breaking the Torah. Yet there's lessons to be learned. Again, this is not necessarily the same day of Ahavas Yisrael to that thief, but I mean to say that you can find the positive in everything, and that doesn't justify their negative behavior. You're looking for the neshama, which is there by every person, and in that sense, everybody is capable of being loved. As I said, some people you need a lot more